I'm Brian Foster, and today I'm talking about Spiritism. And today we are going over, as we usually do on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern, is questions and answers about Spiritism. Now, I usually begin with a small prayer, and I want to do that. And I want to take a prayer I've gotten from this book, In the Realms of Mediumship, by Francisco Xavier, Chico Xavier, part of the Andre Luis series. And it's like almost the last page of the book. I thought it was a great prayer, so I would like to read it now. I'll put my eyes down a little bit so I can read it. Lord Jesus, make us worthy of those who spread truth in love. Add the treasures of wisdom to the souls who become great by assisting their fellow beings. Help those who deny themselves, distributing hope and peace in your name. Teach us how to honor your faithful disciples with the respect and love we owe them. Uproot the harmful weeds of indiscipline and pride from the field of our souls, so that simplicity may favor our renewal. Do not leave us to our own blindness, but guide us our steps toward those who evolve by humbling themselves, and who, by being noble and great in your eyes, do not feel lessened by making themselves small in order to help us. Glorify them, Lord, crowning their heads with your laurels of light. So that was from the book, In the Realms of Mediumship. Anyone who's interested in mediumship, I suggest you read that book along with the Medium's book, as you can see from the title page, by Allan Kardec. And of course, if you want to know more about Spiritism, I recommend you read the book Codified by Allan Kardec, the Spirits book. It was Allan Kardec assembled a group of mediums. He gave them 1,019 questions. He had them all ask the same questions, and he did not use the answers unless they were the same or similar in his book. Much different. People ask me what's the difference between Spiritism and Spiritualism. Spiritism is very rigorous in making sure what the level of the spirit is, and making sure that we have multiple spirits telling us approximately the same thing. And if they are from one spirit, we say who the spirit was and what this was from. So I think it's a more disciplined and rigorous review of what information we do get from the other side. And by the way, it never stops. It's never stopped since 1850s. There are spiritist mediums who psychograph books, I should say, Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, Leon Denis, Ivan Piera, and so forth. So there's a lot of great books out there. So as you can see on my title page, I have the Spirits book that I just talked about, the Medium's book, and the Gospel According to Spiritism. If you type in Allan Kardec space PDF, you'll find all three of those books in PDF versions for free. Of course, you can also go to my site, NW Spiritism, and you can click on the picture of Allan Kardec, and it will take you to the FEB bookstore, and you can order them there, or of course from other bookstores local to you. Also on my website is Spiritism 101, the Third Revelation, in which that is a free PDF you can download. It's 100 pages. Of course, you can also get it in paperback, Kindle, and in Audible format. Okay, so let's start. So what we do on this program is, if you have questions, please enter that into the comment section, and I will answer you as the top priority. If I do not have any comments, I'll take questions I've had from other people leaving comments on the YouTube video. Whenever I get comments, I get notified by YouTube. So if someone says, I have a question, and I copy and paste, and I put this question down here. So let's start with the questions we have and start. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just get this out there so you can all see. Okay. Oh, here's actually a question. Let me do this. Let me hide this first. Here's a question. If a spirit appears and dominates over your own spirit, what will happen to your personality and to you psychologically? So if a spirit is trying to dominate you, that is by definition an inferior spirit. That is not a high spirit, not a good spirit. A good high spirit will never, never try to dominate you or tell you what to do. So therefore, that is... they will try and affect you. They can try to get you to be dependent on them. And that happens a lot, is that people get so used to having this spirit be attached to them that they actually kind of miss it when it's gone. So don't let that happen. If you pray and meditate and ask for help, that should help release that spirit from bothering you. But it can affect you psychologically. Many cases, I'm not going to say all, but many cases of paranoia, obsession, possession are the results of spirits trying to get revenge and control a soul, a physical person on earth. Now, that could be that they had something against you, that in their previous life you did something terrible to them, and now they want to extract penalty. In fact, in spiritist hospitals, psychological hospitals in Brazil, they will go through and they'll take people with mental illnesses and addiction and other things, and they will not only give them the typical psychotherapy and so forth, but they'll also have mediums meetings so they can see is something else affecting them, and then they'll talk to that dominating spirit and say, please don't do that. Don't think of the dominating spirit as evil per se. Think that they probably have a good reason in their own mind, so try and reason with them, but they can affect you absolutely psychologically. They can give you hallucinations. If it gets worse enough, that can absolutely happen. So that's when you really have to meditate and pray and ask for help. In fact, that's even said in the Book of Mediums, is that if a spirit really dominates someone, they may be able to get them out by themselves, but they may need help from other spirits. Another question, can your spirit's mind or consciousness be ripped into pieces by a group of spirits who want all parts of your spirit's consciousness? The answer is absolutely not. They can certainly affect and try to give you bad thoughts and try to, make you think you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. But no, your mind and your consciousness cannot be attacked in that way at all. Not in the physical world and not in the spirit world. You can be dominated. Yes, that can happen, but they cannot take part of your consciousness. They can try to absorb themselves in your body so they can feel like a lot of times you'll see it with alcoholics, spirits who were alcoholics, they go into bars and they'll absorb themselves in another body. So when that person drinks, they can feel the effects of alcohol, but they cannot, rip out your conscience. That's not possible. You are safe from that. They do not have that power. Okay. Let me go to the questions. Okay, I'm trying to understand free will versus predestination. Do you think we plan putting ourselves inside the box to encourage spiritual growth done on spiritual purpose? And I believe what they mean is inside the box is like in the physical world on Earth. And the answer is absolutely yes. I do believe that we plan our incarnations to cause stimuli, to elicit fundamental changes to our character and personality. And that is all for spiritual growth. Why do we want spiritual growth? Let me answer that first before I go between free will and predestination. We want spiritual growth because as you go higher and higher in the spirit world, you are given more and more power. You are actually transformed into a more powerful spirit. You are more energy than matter. You are given more tools in your toolboxes. And hence, with more tools, just as Jesus said, to those who we give, more will be expected. The more we give, the more we expect. Just as if you were in a job, the higher you go, the more responsibilities you have. The same thing happens in the spirit world. In fact, people will want to be reincarnated and want to grow themselves spiritually and help their personality get rid of primitive emotions and replace those with civilized emotions with love, fraternity, charity, and honesty, because they will be able to rise in the different levels of heaven and be given more responsibility, and they can help more people, because really one of the joys in heaven is the joy of serving. Now, that's the purpose. Now, free will versus predestination. So there, on a planet that we're on, which is a planet of atonement, I understand people thinking it's really predestination. We have no choice. But I will tell you right now, the choices become more and more on the higher and higher levels of planets you go on. it's like, do you give a first grader a choice of what classes he's taking, or do you wait? Or you wait for that till they're in college? No, you know, first grader goes to classes you tell them to. Now, so what I'm saying is, you will plan your life, and you will plan your life with certain trials and tribulations, and those are predetermined. Those will happen whether you want them or not when you're incarnate, right? Because you like, well, I don't. So many people say, I can't believe, my life has been so tough, and I always think to myself, well, you probably were one of the ones that contributed to it. You probably thought you could handle more than you could. In fact, usually what the spirit guides and spirit mentors do is they try to always tell you to kind of dampen it down because you're making it life too tough for yourself. But that's up to everyone's free will. Now, let's take an example of your free will. Within this predetermined episode, let's say you're going to go to jail, right? And they use this in one of the books. You're going to go to jail. You're going to be in prison. And then Andre Louis says, well, isn't that predestination? You have no choice. They go, no. You have free will in the fact that when you're in prison, you can work with the warden. You can help other prisoners. You can improve yourself. You can be a model prisoner versus a not a model prisoner. That's your free will. So really, and of course, this expands as I go plan of regeneration and higher. You have more free will of really what do you want to research, what do you want to do on whatever planet you're going to be on. But in our immature phase, it's a lot more restricted. So, but whatever happens to you, that horrible divorce, that someone robbing money from you, right, or someone scamming you out of something, it's your free will is, do you learn from that and say, well, I'm never going to treat that person like they treated me? Or do you just dwell on it and want revenge, and you make it turn your personality into this constant preoccupation with getting revenge on that person? That's the wrong path, but that's free will. Or do you say, oh, that's horrible, I'd never do that to anybody else, but I'm going to put it behind me and keep moving forward? And if you're a spiritist, you'll say, oh, I'm glad I got that trial over with, because I must have robbed someone. I must have robbed money in the past from someone, and now I'm getting my just desserts. So I'm glad that's done. I don't like it, but I'm glad it's done. That's your free will. And there's exceptions in there, but that's really your free will. Okay. Question: do spirit guides exist? If so, how do I communicate with them? What do they do with you? What are the different types? Well, everyone has a guardian angel, and that's like your primary spirit guide. And your guardian angel is always connected to you. You just have to think of your guardian angel and ask them something, and they will receive it. Now, your ability to hear back from them in definite ways that you're used to, right, is debatable, depending on your spiritual level and your training and your ability to be a medium. Now, I'm not a medium. I know I've probably been inspired by my spirit, my guardian angel, but I cannot put my finger on anything definite. I certainly know I have inspirations, but do I know it's from my guardian angel, or do I know it's from other spirit guides? I don't know. I pray. In my book, The 7 Tenets of Spiritism, I talk about the signs and signals, and that's really what you have to look for. Is one is you have to, and this takes practice. If you get inspirations that you should do something, and doesn't at all go against your conscious, right? That the fact that it is not, you're not doing harm to anybody, you're trying to do good, right? That's usually an inspiration from a good spirit, and it could be from your guardian angel. And If you're given an inspiration to do something bad, then then you have to filter out. Now, what do they do with you? What they will do is they will give you inspirations, and they will also arrange things that will put you in one direction or another. They will arrange things like you're looking for a job, and then your Uncle Bob calls and said, I know a job, and it's open here, and it's just perfect for you. That will be arranged. I know this lady who had PTSD, and she really couldn't work anymore, but somehow she got ability to live in a house on a park, and all she had to do was watch the park at night, right? And that was her spirit guides or guardian angel arranging that for her, because she was still helping others. Even when she had problems herself, she still helped other veterans with their problems. And so these things, these little, as Carl Jung called them, synchronicities, these little things will happen, and they'll just kind of point you into the right direction. A door will open, a door will close. Sometimes they'll not let you do something. They're like, let's say you want to go and you want to buy something like a piece of property, and yet you weren't really meant to buy it. So you'll go try to buy a piece. This happened to my wife and I. Try to buy a piece of property. Nope, taken. Okay, we'll try another one. Nope, taken. Another one. Nope, taken. Finally, you should get the clue. It's hard, and it's hard to figure out sometimes, is that, no, I think you're meant to stay in your house, right? So that's what they do with you. So you communicate by prayer and meditation, and then you try to be receptive to signs and signals. Write these things down and review them. That will help you. Okay, next question. Do you know how one could distinguish between a normal mental disorder addiction to one that is caused by a spirit? And I do not. That's a great question. And I do not. And, because there's some disorders caused by, biological factors, chemical imbalances, etc., that can actually be caused. So that's why I would say that you would want to go to your physician or psychologist, psychiatrist, and see that maybe they can help you. That if there were something absolutely that was caused by some sort of chemical imbalance that you have, or other factors. I would say what the spirit world does say is that the majority of mental disorders are caused by spirits. That's what they report. So it never hurts, no matter if it's caused by imbalance, is to pray and meditate and ask for help. But, that's a great question, and I do not know the answer. Then we say, oh, hi from Alexandra. I love the all-knowing thing. Okay, so another question. What type of spiritual family will you have in the afterlife? How will they differ from the family you had when you died? What do you do with all your families from each reincarnated life? So if you look at reincarnation, as each incarnation is a separate event, and you get new parents and new brothers and new sisters. And then when you go back to the spirit world, you've got, who knows how many mothers and who knows how many fathers, or you can make, a football league from all that. So, but what usually happens, and let's say there's exceptions to this, is that family groups tend to reincarnate together. And there's been great lectures by Geraldo Lemos Neto. And he went through like this reincarnation history of a family all the way from all the way from the, I think the end of the Roman Republic, beginning of the Roman Empire, before Jesus was born, all the way to in the 20th century in Brazil. And the husband and wife would come back together in subsequent lives. Now, their kids, their daughter would come back, and their son, I should say. Now, sometimes they had, when they're in a later life in Brazil, they had like two of the daughters, they were actually back in almost 2,000 years ago. They were protagonists. They were people that actually tried to harm the family, and so the spirit world is always trying to um, reconcile any problems. And they came back as their daughters, and they came back very nice people. In fact, that one woman tried to steal the husband of who was, later on her father, and I'm sorry, her brother. I'm sorry, it was later on her brother. And the funny thing about her is that whenever he had a girlfriend, she always said that none of them were not good enough for him. So, but Geraldo said basically she was a very nice person. She gave to charity, she helped people, but she just had that opinion that other women were never good enough for her brother. But so again, so what happens that is that your family has affinities, right? And they tend the law of affinity is very powerful in the spirit realm. So you tend to congregate together, and then you're incarnated together with people you've known before. And so that's why your family really does know you best. They've known you in many lives. Now, sometimes, I'm always saying there's exceptions. You have a brother or sister that was in great uh, uh, you know, enemy of yours, and they try to reconcile. So that happens. Okay. The next one. Oh, what happens? What has happened if your spirit consciousness body on the outside is obese and lazy, but on the outside it is fit and healthy? Yeah. So when you're in the spirit world, um, you're fit, healthy, and strong, and you're immortal. If your body's obese and lazy on the outside, that is a reflection on your circumstance as a incarnated human, and that is what the spirit world tells us to do is to try and keep yourself healthy. And sometimes people are given such drastic medical conditions, etc., that's almost impossible, and therefore that it may be that people were meant to be not physically as fit as they'd want to be. Maybe that's because in a earlier life, I should say, uh, they had something to atone for. So your physical appearance really does not dictate the healthiness of your spirit. Okay. Hi, Brian. Can you speak about the quote you mentioned in a recent video about one of our goals in Spiritism is to emulate the self, to purify? I see tension with maintaining a unique personality. Yeah, and so and then he also said our identity. So this is a really good question, in the fact that if God wanted us all to be pure souls and pure spirits, you would think that would filter you and filter you and filter you until like everybody was kind of alike. And yet it doesn't happen for what spirits say. Spirits will report on a presentation of Jesus, and they will see his ministers like Socrates. I only know the name of a few. And yet they'll say that every one of them, you could see in their face, they all had distinct personalities that they kept unique. Now, how does that happen? And that's why I think the process we go through is just a genius process. So when you're just this little piece of logic, right, and you go and higher pieces of logic, and you become an animal, and you go through this animal, and you go through these primitive emotions, and we become human. You have to work at taking these primitive emotions, right? Hate, anger, thirst for revenge, selfishness, and pride, all emotions that really helped you a lot survive when you were a primitive animal or a primitive human. Now you have to start tearing those out. So my my contention is that if we just all had like 3 or 4 lives and we became pure spirits, we'd all have to kind of go through the same, like a basic training, like they do with basic training of armies. They put soldiers through the basic training because they want soldiers to be disciplined and try to mold them the way they want to mold them. And they do that to an extent in the spirit world, but we have so many lives on different planets in different bodies, and everybody has different sets of trials and tribulations, that we all have our own quirks and feelings and personality. And yet, somehow, through the genius of the spirit world, we learn to tear these primitive emotions out, become better people, but we retain our personality, our little quirks. And that's how I think we maintain our unique personality. And in fact, what spirits have said, and when they were talking to the Reverend Jival, when I talk about this, how we are guided by spirits, what's the future of the planet and ourselves, is that as you go higher and higher, like, Jesus and even higher than Jesus, you become more and more energy and less matter until you are, what spirits say is that in the physical world, you're in the objective, meaning the wall is a wall, your head's hard, right? To the subjective, meaning you can mold the environment around you, to the sublime. And when you're in the sublime, they don't know that much about it. They say you're still swimming in this huge ocean of we don't know what, but we do know that you're still a distinct personality. So I believe is that we go through this, who knows how many millions, maybe billions of years of making ourselves pure, making ourselves that height. And yet everyone has such varied paths to purity that a uniqueness of personality comes out. I've not heard that written down by any spirit. That is my thesis. That is my idea, my belief. And so anybody can correct me or say I'm wrong. Okay. Do spirits in some way telepathically understand all languages, or only the language they spoke as incarnates? And are there spirits that were never incarnated? So I'll answer the last part first. Is no, there are spirits have all been incarnated in some form or another. It could be they're not at human free will level yet, but all spirits were put through this simulator of physicality. That's part of the training process, from what I know. There may be exceptions, but I've not heard of them. There may be these little automatons that are created, but they're not really. They say there's so many different levels of spirits, and we haven't been told a lot, but there are levels of spirits that are very that have not much native intelligence, that they're more simple robots and things like that. So, and maybe that is yes, but any free will spirits, I would say, have been incarnated. Now, spirits speak telepathically, which you don't need language for that. And they also speak telepathically, and also as you go higher, that will be natural to you. And also they'll send images to each other. Like they'll say, meet me on the corner of Main and Fifth. And they'll say, meet me on the corner of Main and Fifth. And then they'll send a picture of Main and Fifth to them, so they know exactly where you want them to meet. Now, if they're talking to someone who is not high enough to telepathically communicate, they will, if they've had languages in common, every language you've ever had as an incarnate will be stored in your paraspirit. So again, if they say something to you in in Mandarin, and you've been incarnated in China and learned Mandarin at one point in time, you will understand them if you're a spirit, because that will be automatically translated to you as a spirit. Now, there's been story I've read is where the spirits who were incarnated and been on Earth a lot of times met spirits from other planets. And they would communicate telepathically, even though they spoke a whole different language, and they would be given pictures. Like he said, he said, like, I was talking to this guy and he was telling me of this great civilization. And he showed me this picture of this like library where you could look at your past lives. And he said it was somewhat hard to understand some of their concepts. And that way the pictures were helpful. But yes, there's kind of that universal translator in there. Now, is that true for all levels of spirits? I don't know. But that's what that's what I infer. Okay, where are we? Okay, here's the next question. What is spiritual ignorance? What happens to you if you and your spiritual safety, if you are spiritually ignorant for a long time or all your life? Well, I mean, I think most of us have been spiritually ignorant in past lives. It's hard not to be spiritually ignorant in this culture where we are bombarded with the mainstream media that tells us that nothing exists except, click on that ad or buy that shoe, and there's nothing else except to consume, and then you're dead, right? So, but and this is what Spiritism says: even if you are an atheist, and yet you are conscientious, you're good, you're kind, you try to help other people, you will still be helped into heaven. You do not need to follow a certain religion or the Spiritist doctrine or anything in order to ascend to heaven. You have to be a good person and follow your conscience. And really, that's what you really want to do, is follow your conscience. And the more you can always follow your conscience, the better off you will be. Now, there's many people who are spiritually ignorant, but they will be given signs and signals and inspirations to become less so. And for those that pick up those signs and signals, good for them, because they will start the upward trek from their life, and to become more and more knowledgeable about the spirit world, less materialistic, right? Because being materialistic, we all have to be materialistic to some extent. We all have to work, feed ourselves, all that. But we do need to put some of our effort into growing ourselves spiritually and understanding why we're here on earth, right? We're not here on earth to have the biggest yacht or to have the most money. No. Or to be famous actors and actresses. No, we're here to grow spiritually. And those are the people who are actually successful on earth, not the ones that the news is all about and who give interviews about things they don't know about. God bless them all. That's why we're on earth. So even if you're spiritually ignorant for a long time, and what Spiritism says, that people who deny that, except then all of a sudden on the deathbed, they said, oh, okay, maybe I've been wrong. They say you cannot underestimate how important that is for them to understand just seconds before death, minutes before death, how much that can help them in the other world. So there's nothing wrong with being ignorant for a long time or all of your life. What will happen is you just may not progress as you like. When you get back, you go, oh, okay, I kind of parked in that life. What Spiritism calls it parking, meaning going through one life after another life, not improving yourself. And I know I've done that. I think probably most people have. I'm sure the few who really are smarter than I am have not, but that's called parking. And it just means that you're slowing down your progression. That's and I just want to point this out. This is why Spiritism, I think, shows the love of God and Jesus. We're not talking about, if you do a great sin, you're going to be in hell forever, with fires all around you. If you do something really wrong, you're going to be in an unpleasant position, an unpleasant place. But as soon as you change your attitude and see that what you did was wrong, then you'll be helped out of that. And then even if you did horrible things in your last life, you can improve yourself in the next, so then everybody can be better. That to me is divine justice. Another question. What type of spiritual trials could my spirit be going through if they're living their life obese, trying to lose fat and get healthy? So if you are attempting to lose weight and get healthy, then um, that's wonderful. And so why that happened? Oh, that's a good question. And so it may have been that you had not taken care of yourself in the past, and that you took your health for granted, and that what they did is they predisposed you to be obese, and they made it so you'd really have to try not to be in order to instill. Now, I could be wrong in this. You have your own interpretation, so don't take this to the bank at all. This is just my feelings. Is they want you to instill with you, because when you pass over and you come back, you still retain your conscience and your instinct, and then your instinct in your next life will be, yeah, I'm going to stay healthy all the time. And it may have been a point in one time that you did not stay healthy, and you may have done an unconscious suicide by not being healthy. And now this life, they said, okay, well, we're going to give you this trial and make it so that you're going to have to focus on keeping yourself fit. And hopefully what that would do is that would put that instinct in you and make you better off in your next lives. And don't be afraid of losing that, because it's like, and it's like people like who not interested in drinking. Like my wife and I, we'll socially drink, but we never really think, oh, let's get drunk. Right? Never wanted that ever. And some people are just like that. They're just not interested in that, any type of addiction. And I believe that's not because we're so better than anybody else. I believe that's because we've gone through that phase and allowed ourselves to be addicted. And we go, not doing that again. That was a waste of a life, right? And therefore we were just, I was never interested in drugs or any of that. It's like, no, not touching it. And I believe that's not because I'm smart, but because I think my instinct was, I'm not touching that. And so these things you will retain from previous lives. Okay. Do the colors that you like have any spiritual purposes? Not that I know. Not that I know. Okay, let's go to the next question. I was reading the Gospel according to Spiritism on one of your videos. Could you expand on the chapter that talks about the causes of affliction? Okay, let me skip that one. I need to get the Gospel out and read that. I don't want to give you wrong information. So I'll flag that one for next time, because I really need to get the Gospel. And I don't want to give you, because I may remember incorrectly. Oh, I forgot. I got another question. I think it was in No Solar that someone mentioned the importance of discipline 3 times. Perhaps it has to do with our thoughts. So keep them as good as possible. And the answer is yes. Absolutely. And I think he was warning Andre Luis, who is a great author, about thinking, kind of harmful or incorrect thoughts, and say, no, come on, you can't be that way, because you don't realize that thoughts have power, right? Thoughts have power. Thoughts have power on the earth. Not that very much, but thoughts are sticky, right? Thoughts will flow through the ether and they'll stick where they find affinity. So if you're thinking bad about someone, it can affect someone if that person lets it. But let's talk about the spirit world. Well, actually, let's talk about both. We are here for one reason, right? We are here to improve ourselves spiritually. How do you improve yourself spiritually when you're on a land, on the physical earth, where Your thoughts, you do not see the action caused by your thoughts, but you're going to go to a land where thought is action. So we are here to modify our personality and character. And how do you modify your personality and character? You modify your personality and character by doing deep analysis and changing your attitude and perspective. In essence, you're rewiring your brain. And that's why on Earth, you want to always try, and takes years, maybe a lot shorter for other people, to think good about people. And you have to, if you say something negative, it's kind of saying, well, because I do this all the time. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. God bless them, right? Catch yourself. Don't gossip about people. And yes, it has to do with the thought, because your spirit is this powerful spirit. With your mind, as you go higher and higher, you create things. You create your own house. You create lakes. I mean, when Jesus said faith can move mountains, faith can move mountains in the spirit world. Oh, I'm going to move that mountain over there. And I've read these things where people create whole environments, lakes, mountains, new cities. They will create those. And usually it's a group of spirits together creating things with their minds, but they'll create them with their minds. So yes, it's really why you're here is to have discipline of your thoughts. That is how you grow here. And that's not and I could be wrong. That is not a one lifetime journey. It's going to take many lifetimes, but it can be done, and people have done it. When you read like Socrates' dialogues, you see what a great person he was. When you read about Jesus in the New Testament, what a great person he was. John the Baptist, Buddha, right? Zoroaster, all these wonderful people that have came down, higher spirits that came on a mission to Earth, and they had mental discipline. Okay, next question. Can someone from reality trap your spirit? No, they cannot. They can try and dominate you if you're a low spirit, and they can be dominated if that is their wish, if they find the right one to dominate. And just like physical people can be dominated by spirits if they allow themselves to be mentally dominated. You can't trap them physically. What are your thoughts on soulmates? So yes, there are people who are predestined to marry on Earth and who live together. In fact, this is what I've said before about families reincarnating together. I think that was one of your first questions. Those people are in essence soulmates that will be together maybe for thousands of years. Now, there's no such thing as marriage for eternal in the spirit world. People are soulmates it could be for many, many lifetimes, and then they may find different paths or different things they want to do. And there's no recriminations. There's no hate. There's always still love and friendship. But there are definitely like my wife now. I was born and raised in the United States. She was born and raised in Brazil. Somehow we met. We were told in messages that was our destiny. We've been married before in previous lives, and we were like criminals together in power before. That part of the message wasn't pleasant, but we were soulmates. Hopefully, we're better soulmates in niceness now, instead of trying to get other people's money. So, I hope that answers that question. Another question. Can we stop spirits from interfering in our thoughts? If so, how? And the answer is no. You're always going to get, unfortunately, I hate to tell you that. And that's part of going through the boot camp called Earth. Is now you can stop them from affecting your decisions, but you can't stop them from trying to inspire you to do stupid things, right? It's like It's like on earth, you're always in middle school or junior high, whatever you call it, wherever you go to school in the world. It's like the 13, 14, 15-year-old uh, children, teenagers. I mean, have you ever been surrounded more by dumber ideas and people trying to have you do the wrong thing in your life and at that age group? Well, but that's what we go through every day. And, but that's part of our training is to filter out this interference from our thoughts. And that is, and the how is to filter everything through your conscience. Your conscience is the set of divine laws given to you by God, to every free-willed human and close to human on other planets. We all have that. We all have that same set of divine laws. And therefore, if some spirit tries to say, I think you should steal that purse from your friend. And in your conscience right away is, no, I'm not doing that. Now, the way that you can stop them from interfering with your thoughts all the time is you reject these things, and these inferior spirits will go, oh, well, that person's no fun. I'm not going to bother with them. That's how you stop them interfering. They were always able to send you inspirations that are negative, are detrimental to your spiritual growth. But the way to do it is just filter everything through your conscience. And sometimes very subtle. And so you have to think about it. And if you're on the fence about what you want to do, if you feel stress, you feel like a little bit of disharmony in your body, don't do it. That shows you there's something, and look, you go through life after life, and your conscience is like this law library that gets supplemented and added to in life after life, where you get to understand the gray areas of decisions. And sometimes you might make a wrong decision because you're not that competent yet to understand some of the gray areas, but you'll learn. Do you think it is possible for an incarnate to obsess another incarnate spiritually via astral travel? Yeah, yes, I believe it is possible. It's tougher because you're not there all the time. But what can happen is these people that do that, it's possible to enlist. And this is what happens a lot when a spirit who does not mean you well, they'll enlist help from other low spirits to help obsess you and give you bad ideas. And they may enlist other spirits in their plan to harm you. So the answer is yes, it's possible. It takes a bit more work, and of course, it's you can defend yourself by being spiritually mature, studying meditation. What does your guardian angel do for you? Well, they are with you all the time. Now, not physically with you. When you're a child, I think before 7, they're actually right there with you, watching you all the time, because who knows what you do as a child. But they will always be connected to you. Your guardian angel is the main person that will send you inspirations. They may facilitate answers to your prayers, like, please, I need a job. And they may have that next person look at your resume. And you know how hard it is to, send your resumes out and get acknowledged. Oh, they're like, oh, let's talk to this person. They'll do those things for you. They will arrange things to happen that you'll just think is random and luck. They're not random and they're not luck. So your guardian angel will supply these little synchronicities and these little beneficial happenstances in your life. And they'll also send you a lot of inspiration and comfort. They do a lot. And they're not with you just on the physical world. They are with you in the spirit world. They are assigned to you. I don't know how they get unassigned or if someone else takes over. I do not know that. Do you have an inner world in your mind and an outer world, which is reality? It depends how you look at things. That's not how I look at things. I think that it's a good question. And really, the question is, what is reality? Because we, on this materialistic culture, believe that we are reality, that we physical humans on Earth, this is why we disdain the idea of artificial intelligence or robots or anything like that. That they could never be like us. They could never emote and feel and create spontaneity, right? They could never do that. But this is a physical centric view, when in reality that is completely wrong. The true reality is that we are spirits, that we are encapsulated logic in this dense world that is full of logic and processes and hierarchy and parameters set for us depending on our spiritual level. And that what we are in reality in a simulation called Earth, in order for us to make changes to our character and personality. In fact, that's what spirits call us. They call us personalities. And when you see these pictures of spirits like this little ball of light, that's really what we are. We're energy and some matter. Depending on how you go, you get less and less matter the higher you go. So in your physical mind, you believe you are in reality, and that people will talk about ghosts or spirits or near-death experiences or visions. They're dabbling in something you don't know what's going on. And I'm not saying you personally, I'm just saying this is kind of a cultural thing. Where in reality, we exist in this world where we are somewhat connected depending on the talent of each person. Some people are mediums, I'm not one. Where they can have visions, they can communicate, they kind of sense things, they're empathetic. And they know there's not this wall between physical reality and the spirit world. Because remember, the spirit universe is the superset of the physical universe. We are in a subset of the spiritual universe, the physical universe. And we are put into this body. And into this body, we really have like blinkers, like a horse has blinkers, or it can't be distracted. Where spirits say that in a physical body, we can only see about 1/8 of what is really around us. We can't see colors as well as spirits. We can't hear sounds, all sorts of things we can't do. We really have. In fact, even Paul talked about this in one of his letters to the Galatians. He goes, when you come to earth, you put on and I forgot his exact words, but you put on clothes over your other clothes. And so he knew about the spirit and the perispirit. And then you go to the physical earth, you put on this physical body, because this physical body is clothes over other clothes, is clothes over your perispirit. And that's why, and this is really a hard level to get to, where you stop thinking of yourself like, oh, I'm just a unique human. No, you are in the simulation. You are this unique spirit who has power beyond your imagination and potential beyond your imagination. You're immortal and you're equal to other spirits. On earth, you're not equal to other people. They say all men are created equal, but that's supposed to be under the law. Because, I'm not going to be a basketball player. I'm not going to be a scientist, a great scientist. No, I don't have that capacity. But on the spirit world, you have the same capacity as anybody else. Now, it depends on your motivation and how hard you're going to work. If you want to be like a Mozart or an Einstein, that depends on you. But you all have the same capacity because you're this logical encapsulation. I hope I'm making myself clear, because this is not an easy concept. Another question? What happens when someone experiences this themselves? Oh, experiences separate from themselves. So that's like astral travel. So and people do this. Some people can astral travel. I mean, they can travel in the spirit world, and some people with near-death experiences will actually see, they'll kind of float all over their body, and they'll see their body laying there, and they go, "Oh, that's me," and you're always connected via that paraspirit. In fact, let me bring that up. It's always good to see this visualization. So there's your spirit, which is this energy ball, encapsulated energy ball, this group of logic of which that's you, your personality, your creativity. Just because you're this energy ball doesn't mean you're not creative and spontaneous and have spontaneity. Let me get that right. But your appearance to other spirits, if you wanted so, is done by your paraspirit. That's your body. And then you have your physical body when you're on Earth. Now, it says disassociate. I meant to say experience disassociation. When you're disassociation from your body. And that's when you leave your physical body and you can roam the spirit world, and you can roam the physical world. You can go over to, your Aunt Ella's house and see what she's doing. I knew a friend of mine that said he did that once. He also traveled, and he went to his girlfriend's house and saw her, I can't remember what, in the kitchen or something like that. And so nothing, that just means you have a great ability to, at will, leave your physical body. And that physical body is just a logic encapsulation of your spirit. And you can leave that physical body and roam the true spirit universe. And there's nothing wrong in that, and it doesn't hurt you in any way. It just shows you probably have capabilities beyond most of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't harm you. It doesn't put you at risk. It hopefully, if you learn from it, and you may talk to other spirits, higher spirits, and communicate. Now, if you leave your body and try to communicate with lower spirits, they may give you bad information. But if you really concentrate and say, "Please help me, God, let me communicate and talk to higher spirits that can teach me something," that will help you. Okay. Here's in one analogy, our body is like a shell, and the spirit is then inside. Is there some specific place of that spirit in the body? And that's a great analogy. And so what happens is the paraspirit connects to every cell in your body. In fact, when your paraspirit is removed or disassociates itself from the physical body, and the cord is cut like an umbilical cord, but in reverse, that's when every cell of your body knows, "Oh, time's out, I'll start decomposing." Now, your spirit always resides in the spirit plane. That's why you never have to worry that someone, goes there and blows your head off. You don't lose your spirit. Now, that's just your physical body. It's not, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal, but it's just your physical body. You don't lose your mental capacity. Your everything you've seen is continuously backed up into your spirit, so you don't lose anything. But your spirit's always intact, but it's in the spirit universe. It's not inside the physical universe. You have a physical brain that is definitely degraded, slower, not as smart than your spirit brain. And that's why we have a hard time understanding dreams. When you're dreaming and you come in and out and things are fuzzy, you don't know what's going on. That's because your physical brain really can't understand it. What if disassociation is experienced from trauma in reality? And again, that's like NDEs, which is a trauma from reality, a near-death experience. People will have a heart attack. That's a perfect definition of a disassociation is trauma. It's not going to affect you spiritually. You'll learn something from it. It's not going to harm you anyway. You are immortal. You can't get sick. So yes, I mean that you should read. In fact, I've had books was talking about spirit world talks to us, and other two books about near-death experiences, where I talk about near-death experiences and really what was the reason for people's near-death experiences. And I always say a lot of reasons for near-death experiences is the same as you're in school and you've been acting up and you get a call that you have to visit the vice principal. Telling you, it's time to change a little course. I'm going to send you back in class, right? If you're not sent back in class, that means you die. But if you had a near-death experiences and you're back in your body, it means you were given more information. Okay, so the body is an interface for the spirit. Absolutely, that is an interface. It's not a perfect interface that it's everything that you experience physically goes to your spirit, but the other way is, you're going through this pipeline and you're trying to feed all this intelligence and things that you have no idea about. That's why your dreams are confused. And do you know any astral projection technique? And no, I really don't. I know that, meditation and concentration, resting. Problem when I tried that, I always end up falling asleep. And so I don't think I was given that talent. So, but other people know how to do it. But I'm the one. I even have to watch myself if I'm meditating, that I will fall asleep. Now, when I fall asleep, I have great dreams, and maybe that's how that happens for me. But I know I'm not astral projecting, or I'm not communicating with the spirit world. I'm really like asleep, and that means I'm naturally going to the spirit world. So I hope you find out, because I'm sure it's interesting. Okay. I think we've gone an hour. It's been really excellent questions. I hope I've helped people. And if you would like to know more about the spirit realm, I do suggest that you read my book, The Spirit Realm, Spiritism has Revealed the Reality of Our Existence. A lot of what I've said here is in this book. Now, if you want to dive even deeper, this is more of an overview of all the books I've written about what I know, the physical, the spiritual universe, your future, what you are as a spirit. If you want to dive deeper, then read my other books. But this is, I've tried to kind of bring everything in together. And what I try to do, which I think is different than other people, and God bless everyone else, and I'm sure they're superior to I am, is they really talking about how you can fashion your spirit and your love and your emotions to become a better person. And I talk about that too, but I'm really trying to give you the organization and the process, because that's the way I think of what is the physical world and what is the spirit world. This is a good comment here. I now imagine that scenario to be analogous to someone operating a remote-controlled robot that is controlled by out-of-body movements. The person living while their body is in a subconscious state. Yeah. Yes. I think it's true. You really are controlling you. Another way of saying that, hopefully it's the same words, is that you are outside of the video game, and yet you are an avatar in the video game, and you are giving commands to the avatar, and the avatar is continually giving you feedback of what it's experiencing, who it's talking to, and yet you cannot express to the avatar in the video game everything you know, because the avatar is an imperfect logical construct. So think of it that way too, but absolutely. Okay, well, I want to thank everyone, and thank you for those great questions. And thank you, Mr. Mega X. I like that analogy. I think it's very pertinent. And our last one is, thank you for your time and answering our questions. God bless you, and God bless all of you. I will talk to everyone later, and God bless.